And of course, again, oil comes pouring out of Earl because that's what it
Earl
does. Right.
Yeah.
Welcome to the shop. I'm Jared, and this is Wrench Every Day. Next to me is our Nissan 300ZX, known as Earl Leeker, that had a 2JZ engine that we've been working to put into it out of a Toyota Supra, and Tavarish has repossessed it. So it needs to come out, and in the last episode, we introduced you to Earl's new BBC, the big block Chevy that's going in that is going to receive a comical amount of superchargers and accessories to make it tall. But I kind of got thinking about it, and I really didn't want to pull the engine alone. So next to Earl is Editor Dwayne.
Wow, if I'm the editor, why in the heck am I here?
To make sure I do it right in real time. So,
there you go. Okay.
We never quite finished installing the engine, so it'll make pulling it easier. Of course, when you pull an engine, you need to do things like remove the radiator. Done. We need to remove the exhaust, which is fairly simple. There's no hangers, and it's one bolt.
Okay, that's not where I normally see an exhaust coming from.
We'll need to remove the wiring, which fuel lines, and a couple bolts. So there's not going to be a whole lot to it, but I figured you'd have a little bit of fun working on Earl with us today.
Yeah, well, I want to do the wiring. That looks like I could probably handle that. I'll get it tangled up and like an extension cord. By the way, Jared, do you have any idea what the name Earl means?
Earl Leeker. It's kind of a play on words. All the engines that have been in this car have leaked a lot of oil.
No. What I mean is the actual name Earl. What does Earl mean?
Oh, noble warrior.
How in the heck did you know that?
Oh, well, thanks to today's sponsor, CuriosityStream, I've been watching all these amazing documentaries, and you guys can too. Let's tell you about it.
CuriosityStream is the Netflix for nerds. It's the Hulu for history buffs, and the Disney Plus for the scientist in all of us. So it's the world's first streaming service that has thousands of the world's best documentaries and nonfiction titles addressing our lifelong quest to learn, explore, and understand. The content spans science, nature, history, technology, society, and lifestyle. I'll just watch a documentary about like cooking or sewing or putting a car together. CuriosityStream is available on many platforms like Roku, Android, Xbox One smart TVs, iOS, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Amazon Kindle, and Apple TV. And there's a web app because if you don't have one of those 17 platforms that I just listed, then I'm sure you can watch it on a Palm Pilot. Did those even have internet? You guys remember Palm Pilots? I think I'm getting old. So CuriosityStream is also extremely affordable because it's less than $20 a year. That's really cheap. And CuriosityStream is adding new exciting titles all the time. So go to curiositystream.com/wrench to get access to the world's best documentaries and nonfiction series. And for our fans, you'll get 25% off by using code WRENCH, which makes it $14.99 a year. That's a little bit more than $1 a month. I mean, guys, just get it. It's so worth it. So go to curiositystream.com/wrench. It's in the link in the video description below, or use code WRENCH to get 25% off. It is very, very worth it. Go check it out right now.
And of course, as you can tell, our shirts keep getting wetter because we have to turn the fans off anytime we want to record audio. And one thing Site B is amazing at is trapping every ounce of humidity in the entire state of Georgia. So less talking, we are going to set up the cameras for a little bit of time lapse, turn on some music, and most importantly, fans, and get started pulling an engine.
Oops. Oh, I didn't know that came off. right, what you working on there, Jared?
We're getting the transmission cross member out. We've already got the drive shaft pulled and the slave cylinder for releasing the clutch removed. So we had you put the jack to just hold some of the weight. And once we undo these bolts, I think you've got one fuel line left, and we have our two hockey puck motor mounts left to go. So,
yep, making progress.
Pretty smooth. It's amazing when project's not 100% finished, how easily it comes back apart.
Well, yeah.
All right, we have a fan going a little bit in the background, so how's it going?
It's hot still.
Yeah.
All that work, all that having to wrench things and screwdriver things and all that.
So we've got one fan going. The wiring doesn't look too much different. It is now piled out of the way and not hung up. We've got fuel lines. I've been underneath and pulled the drive shaft. Something that was peculiar is the drive shaft didn't have all the bolts I left into it. And are you aware of any bolt fairies or?
I've never heard of a bolt fairy. But I'm sure they exist.
I don't know why things weren't how they were when I put them together, but we'll see. That's something. So we got the motor mounts loose. It's we made those fun motor mounts there, the standoffs, and let's focus down on them. We've got our hockey pucks. Those won't ever get used for anything, but I've made them. That's something we did. So next up, we are going to fold the legs out of our Harbor Freight engines hoist and hook up to this beast and liberate it from Earl.
Yay! That'll be fun.
We've got to make a hole that's good enough for the BBC. You know what we'll do? We'll pull the oil dipstick. So then this will come up. Now we have the opportunity for oil to leak. Oh, good.
At this point, can you lower the frame?
I mean, we could.
Oh, but why?
Let's dangle the engine extraordinarily high because it's more exciting that way. Okay.
More opportunities for things.
This is going back into a Toyota. No more of this weird Nissan Toyota hybrid. We're going Nissan American hybrid, Nissan Chevrolet. Toyota and GM have worked together. I don't know that Nissan and GM has worked together. Nissan worked with, Cummins.
Oh, that's right.
And that went over really well. So just hold the transmission to go right out the center.
Okay.
Alrighty.
That was easy.
Like that for now.
Oh, we're leaking. Hey, we're leaking.
Oh, crud. Alright, well. And of course, again, oil comes pouring out of Earl because that's what it does.
Right. Yeah.
You have a nice, wait, right there. There you go. Now you have a nice glow behind you. Editor Dwayne. So, once again, Earl has no engine. I know some people got very upset when we announced the plans of, you know, some people said ruining a chassis. This chassis is already pretty much ruined. We've covered it in the past, but if you're new, you didn't see it. The battery tray completely rusted out. Not a huge deal, but also our suspension mounts were rotted out. It wasn't good, so we've got this reinforcement to try to hold that strut tower in place, because we also discovered lots of Bondo, and this entire apron is crushed. You have Bondo here. When we fitted the body kit, we needed massive amounts of washers to bring them up correctly. It's just kind of, chicken welded through here with, again, there was Bondo in random places. So if we look and see that spot weld, the tear there, and that shape of the apron with the Bondo, we can come over here and see, again, just how nice and smooth that is, how good that looks, and then, how this apron looks and the lack of extreme Bondo. So you still may feel like we're ruining a 300ZX chassis, but I don't think we're ruining a 300ZX chassis because we're putting in an insane, amazing engine. So that's what I have to say about that. You can complain all you want. So what we're going to go ahead and get done is we don't need this transmission for the car that is getting this engine. So we're going to separate that. We have that Collins adapter kit, which I personally wasn't the biggest fan of. You're only using like 3 bolts to hold the transmission to the adapter plate, and it just in general, to me, left a little to be desired. Even putting it together with the parts they wanted, the clutch throw was not very good, and I had to do custom push rod stuff to make all of that work. So we are going to set up and pull that transmission off, and then kind of get this tucked into the corner, and then get Earl back on the ground and kind of ready to roll to the new home for fabrication, because motor plates. Motor plates is how we're going to mount the engine, and if you don't know what motor plates are, you're going to learn when we get to that point, because there's no point in explaining with hand gestures. So in case you're wondering how a clutch works, if you've seen us change them but never quite understood, you have the part here that's a flywheel. This looks a little unique again because it's an adaptation flywheel. In the middle of this crack, you can kind of see this copper section here. That's your clutch disc in the middle. And then on the outside, this is called your pressure plate. And when you're not applying any pressure, or you're not pushing on the diaphragm springs of your pressure plate, it is pinching the clutch disc between the flywheel and the friction surface of the pressure plate, which means this part here, the input spline hub, which connects to the transmission here, is turning. And when that's turning, you're able to put it into gear, and that makes the engine rotation connected to the transmission. Now, if your transmission is neutral, like you pull up to a traffic light, go to neutral, it's just going to turn the input shaft and no torque is applied. But when you need to shift gears or disengage so you can put into gear, you'll have a throwout bearing, which is this piece here, and that actually will push, and with mechanical leverage, will push these springs and move the pressure plate away from the clutch disc, allowing it to turn independent from the engine RPM and the flywheel. So let's see. Let me grab a tape measure. The engine is going to land almost 6 feet tall. So,
Oh, wow.
we're going to go from there. No, those numbers aren't right. I don't think that's right.
6 feet?
Because 6 feet's here. But with the I believe 5 foot. I think that's possible.
How are you going to see past the thing? Or does it matter?
Have you ever seen the burnout videos or a burnout contest? 2 seconds in, it's nothing but smoke anyway,
right.
And you just kind of go until you almost see a wall and then try not to hit it. So you get points for covering as much of the arena as possible. If I remember, so the Australian way, Cletuson way is just who gets the crowd most riled up, which
right.
I understand, but it's tip-in speed and style. So tip-in is your entry. So right on the outside of the box, you get it up generally into high gear, so your tire speed is ideally 55 to 70 miles an hour. And then you take off in, and then as soon as you're about in the middle of the box, you grab the wheel as hard as you can and just throw the nose over. So you just swing the rear end around. And what's crazy is, like, I'll need the sway bar. The amount of handling you have to have in a burnout car to do it well, it doesn't make sense. You need that front end very controlled. Like, you want to be able to turn the wheel and in your spins, point the car. And because again, the way to win most points is cover as much of the burnout box as possible. I think technically touching the wall in Australia is a bad thing, but like a gentle wall tap in the Cletus world is a good thing, where you swing around and the bumper just scrapes.
Okay.
So you just kind of take the paint or the sticker off of your car. That's a good thing. What George from Faster Proms did, where he jumped the wall and almost went into the stands, that's a bad thing.
I would think so, yes.
So gentle taps, not mounting the wall. Yeah. So
you know what it reminds me of is bull riding. You know, a little bit. I mean, you're just trying to hang on as long as you can, kind of thing. It sort of feels like that.
Right. And then, of course, it's complete when you blow the tires. So I guess that's
right. Now, do flames in the tires count? Is that good or bad when you get
so
fire?
It's exciting to look at. You want like just your tire dust to be on fire, not the car to be on fire. Okay. And it's kind of hard to distinguish which one's which sometimes. So
okay.
Preferably not too much fire. We've got to figure out what we're going to do with the exhaust. You know, going up's always exciting, but I'm thinking actually running it under the car and aiming it at the tires to help. What that does is make the smoke kind of blow up at higher. Okay. So it makes the smoke look more exciting. You know, as dumb and fantastic that burnout cars are, doing them right, there's a lot of thought and science that goes into it. And the Americans are a little bit behind the Aussies, but again, they have engines that cost a whole lot more, and my goal is to put on as good of a show for, you know, maybe a tenth of the budget, because I don't have 70 grand to drop on an engine. So
maybe Earl will go down in history somehow as something. That does sound like bull riding. Hang on for dear life.
Okay, so we have got Earl's nose just kind of stuck back on real quick. I mean, it's not bolted on, so it's going to fall off anyway, but we had to, again, get Tavarish's engine out to head back down to Florida for another project. And again, I was a little upset with it, but I'm much more excited about the idea of an engine this tall. So we pulled up tape and it wasn't quite landing, but I think I'm going to add enough intercooler spacers because I really want the engine taller than this, because that's stupid and questionable and everything we stand for. So that's what we're going to go for. Big thank you for editor Dwayne for jumping out. He's back there somewhere. Can't quite see the viewfinder. But for coming out and helping us today, it made it a little bit easier having two hands, and hopefully a little bit more entertaining for you, because he's able to ask some questions that I normally don't think to answer. But as always, possibly for the last time here, I'm Jared, reminding you to always make questionable choices. And if you're expecting a boy, hopefully you name him Earl, because it means he's either going to leak in his diapers or a lot, or he's a noble warrior. One of those two things. Thanks. We'll see you.